All right, so welcome to today's class. Recording has started, and please, I'll be dropping the attendance for today's class 30 minutes into the class, and I will terminate the acceptance of anybody filling the attendance once the class ends. Okay, so please take down your notes, and as usual, put down your questions, and you get feedback when it's time to respond to questions. Okay, so today we are beginning Python proper, doing Python proper, and we are learning the basics of Python. So from my screen, I know you can already see part of what we are learning. So I'm going to begin by explaining what we have and then ask you guys some questions. Not the other way around, though, but I'll ask you guys some questions, then I'll continue. So let's go ahead. Now, I'm using Colab, like introduced to you guys. So everything you see, both the text and the codes we were having, it's on Colab. So make sure you have Colab opened on your devices. And when you've opened it, make sure you connect to a runtime. And I advise you to save the name of your Colab, like you are seeing on my screen at the top. Copy of one tutorial basic. You can rename your notebook as Python basic class. Python basic class 1. Save it like that so that you remember what you used for your notebook. Okay. So today we're beginning by learning what we call variables. Now I gave an assignment for you guys to research what variables are and some rules for naming variables. Okay. So on my screen, variable is like a container that is used to store data or values. A variable is assigned names, which is used to refer to its values. A variable is mutable, which means its values can change at any time. And variables are named with rules. Now, I'll explain this further. What we mean by a variable is a container which is used to store data or values. It means the same way you have your boxes, empty boxes, or pots you use in cooking, same way we have variables. All right. Now, the round aluminum material used in cooking is named pot, but you can't do anything with just the pot. All right. It must have a value. It must contain something that you can do operations with. It must contain some values. Now, if you have that pot in your kitchen and it's empty, it is useless. Okay, it is useless. It's just there. But when there is something inside, whether it's water or it is milk, it becomes useful. And you now call it, instead of calling it a pot, if, for example, you made stew, you call it a pot of stew or a pot of soup. And if somebody goes there and throws away that pot of soup, the person is in big trouble because it now has values which are important to you. Same also goes for our bottle, which stores water. Let's say our water bottle, you buy canned water, like we call it in Nigeria, or bottled water. Now, why do you buy the bottled water? It's because of what it contains. The water is what you need, not the bottle itself. The water is what you need. That's why it's called bottled water. Now, take the bottled water, pour away the water, the bottle becomes useless. And when you are done drinking your water, throw the bottle away. It becomes useless. Now, you take that bottled water and then, which is empty, the empty can, maybe you pour oil inside or you pour soft drink inside, soda and whatever you want, even if it's alcohol you pour inside. It no longer becomes a bottle of water, but it becomes what it contains. That gives it its meaning. Same also applies to variable. A variable that is empty is useless, but when it has values, it becomes meaningful. And variables are important in every aspect of data analysis. Every aspect, variable is important because it houses those values you need to work. Variable is just a name and a container. You only use it because of the information. You don't really need the container itself, but the information from it. So when you are calling this variable, you are not actually getting the variable itself, but you are getting what the variable contains. That's why we say it's like a container that is used to store and hold values or data. Now, when you put this data or values inside this variable or inside this container, you need to give it a name. You need to give it a name. Now, how do you give it a name? You give it a name that you remember, a name that can easily guide you to what the variable contains. I still use the same scenario of your pot. Now, when you need that pot, you don't actually need the pot itself, but what the pot contains. So if you want to say, okay, take for example, you send your child to go and get you something. Maybe the pot is in the freezer, and you have several pots inside the freezer. Then you send somebody to please get me a pot from the freezer. Get me the pot from the freezer. And the person goes to the freezer and sees multiple pots. The person will be confused, extremely confused, because he or she doesn't know which of the pot you want because you didn't give it a name. Now, use the scenario whereby you gave it a name by the value it holds, and you tell the person, go to the freezer, get me the pot of stew. Now, when the person goes to the freezer, he opens the freezer and sees multiple pots. He checks for the one that has stew and brings it for you. The person has fulfilled his quest, which is more better than the first scenario where you just say pot and there are multiple pots in the freezer. Same rule applies to using variables and calling variables. We use variables to hold and store values, but when we call variables, we use them in operation. We don't actually use the variable itself, but the values these variables contain. That is what we use. Whether it is numbers, letters, anything, that is what we use. And the test statement which says a variable is mutable, which means anything inside can be changed at any time. It can be changed at any time. Take, for example, the pot of stew you have. Maybe you are using only one pot, for example, only one pot to cook at home. Then, first of all, you made stew and you wanted to cook something else. You can easily discard the stew, pour it somewhere else, and use the pot to store maybe a soup or something else, maybe another meal. It can be rice, jollof rice, porridge, and the relax. It no longer becomes a pot of stew, but a pot of the new meal it contains, which means it can be changed. These things can be changed. So a variable is only unique when it has an item or data stored in it. Is unique to that particular data. Once you replace it with any other thing, it becomes a new variable unique to that new item that it contains, even if you use the old name that is there. Okay, that's why when you're using variables to work, we all need to be careful. Yeah, so that you won't go and put soup inside the pot of stew, and you now take stew and put inside the pot that's supposed to have soup. Maybe you labeled it. Then when you're not sending somebody to go and get a pot of stew, the person goes there, they wrote pot of stew and bought it for you, and opens it, you're seeing pot of soup. That's it. That's why it is important. That's why it's important to be careful when you're using variables. Okay. Now, there are rules for naming variables, and before I highlight some of the rules, I would like some inputs from you guys to give me feedbacks on the assignments you guys were. come? I'm in class. Unmuted, so you guys could list out and tell me the different rules for naming variables. So if you want to speak up, please raise up your hands and I'll call you. Thank you very much. So I need the rules for naming variables. Anybody? Okay, I have on my end, first of all, Ayobe. I can't pronounce the second one. Please, what's your input? The floor is yours.
Okay, numeric means.
If you are speaking, we can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. I think number one we have numeric.
Numeric.
Means, yes.
What does numeric entail? I don't understand what numeric means.
It means the float, the double.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Next on my list, we have Kingsley. The floor is yours. If Kingsley is not responding, the next on my list is Abiodun. Okay, he has dropped his hand. Emmanuel.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
sir.
Yes, we can
Can you
hear
hear?
you.
Okay, one of the rules of naming variable is that we don't start a variable name with a symbol or a number. We start it with a letter. Another rules of
Okay.
naming a variable, we don't give space in a variable name. We don't give space in
Okay.
a variable name.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next on my list, Emmanuel. What's your input? The floor is yours.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. While naming a variable can start with an alphabet or an underscore, but not with a number. The number can come after the alphabet, making it alphanumeric.
All
And
right. Thank
also,
you.
when using two words, there is no need for space in between. You can separate the two words by adding an underscore in between them.
All right. Thank you very much. Next on my list, I guess this is Raphael. Raphael, if I'm correct. What's your input? Floor is yours.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
When naming a variable, if you should give a variable a name that you can remember, a meaningful name,
Okay.
and when you are joining two variables together, you can use camel casing or you can concatenate.
Okay. Thank you very much. Precious.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening.
Also, before you can assign any name to a variable, it's necessary you use an equal to operation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Kingsley.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much,
Good
sir.
evening.
Variables name are case sensitive, so while we are naming it, we very consider so that while we are naming it, we should know the names we are using, so that while we are calling it in the program, it can always respond to it.
Thank you. Thank you. Very important. Last on my list, Ismail Abiodun. Floor is yours.
One of the rules of a variable is that when you want to space variable, you don't use the normal space, you use underscore to space variables.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody that contributed. You all are correct. I'm so glad you did your assignments. Now, in addition to what you guys said, I'm going to add a few things. Now, yes, when naming a variable, it must be meaningful, recognizable, and readable. I was illustrating using a pot of stew, a bottle of water. Give a variable name based on what the variable has to contain, so that when you remember, oh, I want to do some kind of operation, you know the variable to call. So that maybe you give two variables, one has numbers, you gave one num1, and you went to create a number and you gave it 1. Now don't be confused when you are trying to call these variables. Remember the one that has the information and call it properly. That's why it needs to be meaningful, recognizable, and readable. Now, another thing is a variable should not be a reserved word. Yes, it should not be a reserved word. Now, what do we mean by reserved words? Reserved words are keywords which guides the flow or operation of a program. These words are designed and implanted on a program specifically for the program. You cannot be used as variables. Take for example your print, your input, your int. These are reserved words. There are lots of reserved words. Okay, when you make a research on them, you see lots of reserved words on Python. So there are many reserved words you cannot use when doing a variable name, because when the program sees it, it knows this is a reserved word I have. It knows it's a reserved word I have. So when you are trying to give it something different, you can't overwrite the programming. It's going to tell you this name cannot be reserved word. It can't be used as a variable name. It's going to give you that warning. Okay, we have lots of variable names. Now the next thing is, do not begin your variable name with number or symbols, like you guys said. No special characters at the beginning, no numbers at the beginning. Is either you begin with alphabets or you begin with an underscore. Underscore means the bottom slash. You know, the middle is a dash or an hyphen. Underscore, bottom slash. That's what I mean. Like this one you're seeing first name here. This is what we mean by underscore. Okay, that's how you do it. You can put it at the beginning to start a variable name, but don't start with a number or any special character. Then when you are giving your variable name, you don't use space. We don't allow spaces. Programming language does not allow space. It's either you write them together at once, like the way we have camel casing. This camel casing. Camel casing means you know the shape of a camel, where the back is small, then at the middle, close to the neck, is huge, then the other parts are small. That's why we have N at this place, N here at the middle. It's camel casing. The rest are small letter, but the N here is capital letter and small letter. Or you bring the capital letter at the beginning or at the end or anywhere in the letter, but don't put a space. Did I write it like this? Or you combine them together like this? Or you use underscore like the third one. That's the way we name variables. Okay. Now, also what one of us said, it is case sensitive. Now, variable names, the variable names itself is not what is case sensitive, but rather the programming. Okay. The variable name is not what is case sensitive, but rather the programming. Now, when you declare first name as this is your first name, then you go ahead and you are calling this first name. The program does not know what this second first name you are calling is, because it is nowhere. There was nowhere it was written, could not be found. This is what it recognized and saved as the variable name, the one that with the capital letter N at the middle. Then these ones in small letters, it doesn't know them. Okay. So even if I have two first name and I name one like this and this one, yes, we know they are both first name. Or I name another one like this, yes, we know they are both first name. You can't call one to get the other. You must call exactly what you get. That's why it's best you remember what you used in your variable name. You must remember, which boils down to you using that meaningful variable name and recognizable, mostly by you who's using it. That's the essence. Okay, if you start with a capital letter at the beginning, you must call with a capital letter at the beginning. If you're calling a small letter, the program does not know what you are talking about. Cannot locate that variable name and cannot get you the value inside the variable. So these are the rules for naming variables. All right. So round of applause for you guys that contributed and everyone who didn't. Now, the next thing we should know, after naming your variable, you need to declare a value. And that value has what we call data type. It has what we call data types. Okay. The name is not confusing. Types of data or the kinds of data. Now, data is there. Data types. That's how the name came about. Data types. Now, we have 4 basic data types in programming language. Now, like I said before in your introduction and last class, you see these programming concepts you are learning. It is the same in every other programming concept. Once you have the knowledge of one, you already have the knowledge of others. The only thing is for you to understand the flow and how to apply other functions within them. Now, data types you see here also applies to every single one of them. It also applies to every single one of them. Now, we have 4 basic data types. We have the integers, we have the floats, we have the strings, and we have Boolean. Now, integers, which is referred in programming as int, simply means whole numbers, numbers without decimal points. That's why the examples you see on your screen is 12, 13, 100, 300. No decimal points. Once the programming sees numbers like this, no matter how long they are, without decimal points, it takes them as what? Integer numbers. Now, when there's a decimal point in between any of these numbers, it sees it as a float or fractions. Fractions are known as float. Okay, whole numbers are integers. Fractions are known as floats. Any numbers with a decimal point are known as floats. Okay, then the next data type is string. Now, string are alphabets and numbers which are in quote. When I mean quote, the normal quote you use when you're doing your writing your notes or essay, those double quotes at the top, or you are doing finger quotes to mimic someone. That's what we mean by quotes. Now, listen attentively to this. Okay, when you, like I said, strings are sequence of alphabets, which are letters, or numbers that are in quotes. For example, you see this one. See the way I highlighted it? It is in quotes, beginning from the first quote to the end quote. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside is a string. Yes, it looks like a number. Yes, it's actually a number. But because of the quotes attached at the beginning and at the end, it makes it a string. It is important to know the difference. A string in quote can either be in double quote or single quote, like you are seeing. Hello, you are seeing here. Hello, you are seeing here is a string because it is in quote. That is what characterizes a string, not just by writing it plainly, but by putting it in quote. You see this old long number here from 09 to 68 in quotes. This is a string, not a number. It is a string because it is quoted. I'm explaining this why, because if you call a letter without quotes, the program thinks you are calling a variable. A variable is not quoted. Okay, and also, like somebody said, a variable must have values. And how do you put values in them? You use what we call the assignment operator, equal to. Okay, I will explain the difference when we get there. So you should note that when you are calling, for example, you want to call a string, now you want to print a string, you are calling it like this without quotes. Program will take you are calling a variable. And if it does not have values inside, it's going to tell you this variable is not declared. If you couldn't find where you declared it, you have errors. Okay, but once you put them in quotes, yes, it prints the way you write it. This is a string. I believe we are flowing. Then the fourth one is what we call Boolean. known as bool, B-O-O-L, is for short. Now, Boolean simply means true or false. You can either pick one. Okay, true or false, yes or no, 1 or 0, off or on. You must pick only one. That's what I mean by Boolean. Now, Boolean is this data type you see here. It is what is majorly used when programming some of our electronics, our appliances, the power button in our televisions. When you press them, it ons. When you press it, it goes off. It works with the Boolean structure. It works with this, the Boolean structure. Okay, so it only takes two values, true or false. You must pick only one, yes or no, off or on, 1 or 0 when it's specified. Okay, for Python programming, it's just true or false. When it says true or false, it takes it as a Boolean. Now, the true or false you see here, the true or false you see here, it is different from, let me edit this and let me show you guys something. This true or false we are seeing here, it is different from, it's different from this. It is different from this. There's a reason I'm adding this. There's a reason I'm doing it, so that nobody will get confused. Okay? There's a reason I'm doing this, so nobody get confused. Now, you see this true or false that is here? It's different from this one that is here. Like I said, Python is case sensitive, and it knows when it sees a particular function or figure that this is my own. Now, when you want to declare a Boolean, it must be capital letter T, not small letter t. Small letter t is not a Boolean. It does not know what you're even talking about. You have lots of errors. So that you're using capital letter T and capital letter what? F. Okay? It's not the same as this. Small letter F, small letter T. It must be capital letter T or capital letter F for true or false. Now, the trick I tell people to do is when you are declaring these variables or when you're using functions or methods, which you guys are going to learn, watch out for the color codes. Identify them by color codes. That's the easiest way I identify mine, by color codes. Once the color changes to a code, yes, I know that this is I'm correct, I'm on the right track. Once it doesn't give me the right color, I know, yes, I've done something wrong. Don't worry, we'll get to understand that aspect. Okay, so seeing we've learned these things so far, I will open the floor for a few questions if there's any, so that you guys will ask and I will explain better about variables, and then we go on from there. So right now, you guys are free to unmute yourself, and if you have any questions, raise your hand and I'll call you. You speak up, and we move on. Then if there's no question, I continue with my class. Thank you very much. So Abiodun Ismail, your hands are raised. What's the question?
Yes, sir. Please, I just need a more clarification on the part where you said numbers. When numbers is being in a double hyphen, it is a string.
Okay.
Is that correct? Just
yes.
I'm not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It is a string. Okay.
Now, a string is not a plain alphabet. Okay, don't worry. When we are practicing it now, we'll see the difference. A string is not a plain alphabet. Okay, a string is recognized when the program sees a quote attached. If you remove the quote, it won't take it as a string. It will think it's something else, and if you cannot work with that thing, it thinks you get an error. But once you quote it, whether it is number you put in quote or alphabet you put in quote or special character you put in quote, it is a string. So long there's a quote attached is a string. But when you remove the quote, it becomes something else. So numbers without quotes are integers or floats. But once you quote them, they become string. Letters without quotes mostly are seen as the program will think, okay, this is a variable, depends on what you call. This is a variable or this is a function, depends on what you call, what you write. But once there's a string attached, it is a once there's a quote attached, it becomes a string. Whichever thing you write there becomes a string, and the program gives it to you the way you just write it, even if it's blank space itself, even blank space, empty space, your tab space. Once you quote it, is a string. Program takes it as a string. It brings it out the way the space that you have. That's why anything you write in string comes out the way you write it. Okay, I hope that has answered the question. All right, so Kisley, your question before Sunday, and make it short, please.
Okay, good evening, sir. Sir, the string, must it be in double quotes? Can we use a
I
single
said
quote?
it can be double or single. As long as it is in quote, you are good to go. Is that you use double or single quote, doesn't matter. The program takes all of the both of them as the same. At Sunday, Ame, your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. So
Evening.
if it's quoted and also in parentheses, what is it also a string?
If it's quoted and in parentheses,
Yes, sir.
is the parentheses inside the quote or outside the quote?
Outside the quote. So
If the
everything
parentheses
is
is outside
in
the
the
quote,
bracket.
if
Yes.
the parentheses is outside the quote, the program works with an order of precedence. I know we're going to learn this. Program works with an order of precedence. So you know what order of precedence is. Our board mass we learned in school.
Yeah.
That's order of precedence. So it takes the
Yeah.
bracket and everything inside the bracket. It works with it. So if the bracket is outside the string,
Okay.
then it works with what is inside the bracket, not the bracket itself. But if you put the bracket in string in a quote, it takes it as a string too. That's why I say watch out for color codes when you're doing this. Yes, when you're practicing, always watch out for color codes. You will know that's the easiest way I learned all this. Yes. Any more question from anybody? Please, I want to drop the attendance now. So you can go ahead and fill it. And please, while filling it, make sure you are staying attentive in the class, because I won't stop. I'll continue with the class and fill it and come back to the class. Don't forget, it terminates when the class terminates. I stop taking attendance. Thank you. So it's on the group chat and it's pinned. It's pinned and it's on the group chat. So everybody fill your attendance and I terminate it when my class ends. Thank you very much. Okay, so let us prove. I hope everybody has their collab open, because right now we are going to do some practical. Okay, we're going to do some practical, assigning variables, and then we're moving forward to learn other stuffs. Okay, with the little time we have. So all these things I was saying, they were all written in a text block. Like I said, it's a text block. So when you click on it, it adds a text for you. Then if you want to code, you click on the code, the plus sign with the code. Click on it, it's going to add a code block for you. All right, so let's start coding. Let's start coding, guys. So what you see on my screen, let's practice and do it. Now, let's assign. Okay, now make sure you connect, please. Always connect. Connect. Once you log in your Collab, make sure you connect so that everything you are doing will be saved automatically. Okay, if you don't connect, you can't save automatically until you connect, then it saves. And make sure your network is good. All right, so that you won't lose whatever file you are doing today. So I hope we are good to go. Now, let's declare a variable. Now, like I said, let's declare a variable. Okay, let's declare a variable. Now, a variable I declared here is called age. Age. Now, let's understand why it is named age. What values does age carry? What values? Like if you say, okay, if you ask somebody, what's your age? What are you expecting as the answer? What are you expecting as the answer? When somebody says, what's your age? Or you ask someone, what's your age? What are you expecting as an answer? You are expecting numbers. Okay, they're expecting numbers. Let me allow you guys to unmute yourself so that you can be responding. But please, when you're not talking, mute your mics, because when I hear distractions, I mute everybody's mic so that you won't disturb the recording for those who are still going to watch it later. So when you hear about age, when somebody says, please, what's your age? This person is expecting a number. Okay, it's expecting a number. So that's why when he created an age, we built an equal to. Now this equal to here is called an assignment operator. It is not the equal to for calculation. This single equal to is called an assignment operator. It's what you use to assign values to variables. In every programming, it is here. In Excel, it is here. It is used for assignment. When you want to do calculations, you want to do comparison, it is different. It is totally different. Okay, so we say age is 30 and we assigned it to we assigned the number 30 to age. Now let me ask you guys this question. Seeing this number 30, okay, seeing this number 30, what kind of data type would 30 be? What kind of data type? The question is open to the house. What kind of data type would 30 be?
Integer.
Integer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, the data type will be integer because 30 is a whole number. Okay, 30 is a whole number. All right. Now, below we see what we call print. Now, this print you are seeing, the print is used, like we say, print. Are you guys seeing the color codes on my screen? I don't know if it's the color code is showing on your screen. It's the color code.
Yes, sir. You can see the color, sir.
It is mostly different.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. It's mostly different depending on your screen, your graphics of your screen. Now, currently, integers show green on my screen. When I type them, show green. Okay, it shows green. While variables shows black. Okay, variable shows black, integer shows green. Okay, now age is equals to what? 30. Now, when you use this print is a function. It's a function that tells the computer to show me what the variable contains on the screen. It's not the actual print. When you say, oh, print this value for me, then you go and print it in a printing machine and you print hard copy. No, it prints and displays it on your screen. Okay, now when you're using the print function, you call it print and you open a bracket, a round bracket, then you put the variable name inside. Are we together? Now I'm going to explain some workings on this. Now when I click on the print, it loads and it gives me, oh sorry, I've not done this, and now I'm going to have an error. Sorry guys, and now I'm going to have an error. So I have to run this first. I didn't run this. Now when you do age is equals to 30, please run it. Once you see this good, you know it is successfully run. So I didn't run it, that's why I had this. So let me click on print. Now what did it print for me? 30. It did not print AGE, rather it printed 30. Why? Because age here contains the value 30. So when you are working with your programming and variable, you are working with the values inside. When you are doing operations on it, you work with the values inside the variable. But the variable is just the way to get the value. Is what to get the value. You can't just call 30. Okay? You can't just call 30. But you must call the variable that houses 30 in order to get what is inside. So also when you are performing some calculations, you use the variable to perform them. Now, let's change this. No, let's scroll down. Now, let me explain the third one, then I will do some changes. Now, the next thing we see here is type. What color code is print showing you on your screen? Guys, what color code is print showing you on your screen?
Brown, I guess.
Yellow.
Brownish. Like,
It look like
Brownish. Light
Blood,
brown.
bro.
like brown. Oh,
More like
Okay.
brown, yes, sir.
Light green.
Brown.
Okay. Okay. Like I said, the color code depends on the graphics of your screen. Okay. Now mine is showing brown, light brown. Now, type. What color code is type showing you guys on your screen?
Green.
Green. Okay.
Green.
Thank you. Some people say green. Mine is showing me kind of sky blue. That's why I said it's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. Your screen should determine the color, but watch out for these color codes. These are functions. See, print is a function. Okay, this is also a function. Now, type is a function used to get the data type of any variable. Now we know this is 30, right? Because we declared 30. 30 is an integer. We declared it in and assigned it to age. Now, when we are doing the type of age, we're supposed to get an answer of what? Int. Okay, type int. Okay, now if we get another answer, we know there's something wrong. So let's do type, open a bracket, and put age inside and run it. Let's see the output. Now, the output, guys, is what? Int. This is how you know the data type for any variable you are working with. Okay, use the type function, call the variable inside the bracket, the parentheses, and you run it. It gives you what? The data type. It does not give you the value. Print gives you the value. Type gives you the data type. Are we together, guys? Now, let's change the value. I want to explain these values, okay? I want to use all the data types we have, the 4 kinds. I want to use it here so that we are going to see what comes out. Now, this is an int. Let me put a string. Let me, like somebody that was asking about numbers, watch what I want to do now. Watch what I want to do to this number now. Watch what I want to do to this number. Now, what color code are you guys seeing?
Red.
See, the color code has changed from that green to red. This is how I know my string, because I quote it. Whether I use single quote or double quote, this is double quote. Okay, if I use single quote, it's 20. Now let me print it and see what will come out. What comes out? Okay, sorry, let me run this. I've not run this. I've not run this. Hold on, let me run it again. I didn't run that. Now what comes out?
30.
Now they are the same, right?
Yes, sir.
Now watch the type. Hope you guys are seeing the difference now.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
String.
You guys are seeing the difference now. Good. So whether it's numbers, whether it's letters, even if I put letters here, I put special character. As far as it's in quotes, it is a string. Okay, even if I put letters here, I just write something like this. The print will give me exactly what I put in string. It does not actually print the quote. Okay, it doesn't print the quote itself, but it prints what the quote contains. Now let me run this. I know I've done something, but let me print it. Now you see it prints everything you type. You see it prints everything you type. All the rubbish I type just now, print it out. And if you click on the data type, it is still a string, because a string can accept anything. If I even put Boolean values here now, it will be a string. It won't be seen as a Boolean value. Okay, let me put it here. It is still a string. The color code is there. It's still a string. When you print it, it's going to print what it has. But when you check the data type, it's a string. I hope we're getting the clear concept about this, because string confuses a lot of persons when they're using it. Mostly those who didn't settle down to learn and understand how to use it. Okay. Now we've done for integers, we've done for string. Now let's do for floats. No, let's do for floats. Let's do for float. Now we have 30 here. Okay. Now the 30 we had here, let me remove the quote. The 30 we had here was an integer. All right, 30 we had was an integer. Now let's do the other data type. Now let me add something here. Let me put so if I put a line writing things like this 30.0, which is the same thing as 30, let's print it and see what we have. Now when I print age, what comes out? 30.0. Now when I print data type, what data type are we guys saying?
Floats.
Float. These are the differences. Now if I take this float, I put it in quote, whether single quote or double quote, I quote it. Color code has changed. When you check the data type, it becomes a string. So a string can contain anything. Okay. So for the last data type, let's do it. Now, watch this, guys. What color code are you seeing here?
Blue.
Blue. Thank you. Now, already, because it's online, I'm using Google Colab, connected to the runtime and there's AI also involved, I can see some options because it has what we call a recent programming languages or programming applications have what we call IntelliSense, which brings out options for you when they see a similar pattern. So they bring options for you. Now, this is true. Let's run this. Let's run this. Let's print it. True. Now, let's check the data type. What are we saying, guys?
Boolean.
Boolean. Thank you very much. So whether it's true,
Boolean.
yes, whether it's true or it's false, whether it's true or it's false, when you print it, it gives you what it has. When you print the data type, it is what Boolean. Now, I was making an example. Look at this. So let me put this one on. Did anything change? Sorry, guys, I made something. Now, watch this. Watch this. Are you seeing what I'm doing? I put small letter first. Now, I'm getting a line. This line I'm seeing under the first is showing me that there is potentially an error that is going to come up. That's why when my cursor is there, you see the AI told me first is not defined. Because what is taking first as this, you are trying to declare a variable. Because this is not, it didn't see it as a Boolean, it didn't see it as a string, it didn't see it as an integer or anything. So it's trying to take it as a variable. That's why it's telling you first is not defined, report undefined variable. Now, if I run this, because I'm seeing signs of potential error, unless I complete it, if I run this, I will have problems in running it. So you cannot use call when you are trying to call Boolean, you must use capitalize the first letter T or the first letter F to be assigned as a Boolean. Otherwise, they'll take it as a variable. Now, if I had declared this first now as a variable and assigned it somewhere else, and as I declared it somewhere else and assigned value into it, the values of that will be assigned to age. So then we'll get this. Now, sorry, let me take this back and put the F and run it again, and we'll get an answer. All right. So you have to be careful and know what you're doing when you are practicing with variables and all. All right, guys. So I'll take this back to age. Let's take it back to integer, run, and run. Good. So I believe we will understand the 4 different concepts. Okay. So let's proceed with more codes. Now, on my screen here, the next thing I did was salary or salary. Now, I called this salary and I declared some numbers and I put the print statement in it. Now, when I run this, it runs and it prints the value of salary for me. Then you can check the data type and see it is what? Float. Now, it is float because salary can have some cobbles or some additional cents. That's why we have points here. So it usually takes the data type of float, because if there are any little money or changes left, it's going to be added. All right. That's why when you're buying some things in some malls, you see 99.99 cents or 199.99 cents. That's how you know monetary value is calculated. It can also be whole numbers though, so don't get confused. Both can work, but it depends on the values you are working with. So here I practiced and I did that of float, and also I did that of strings. I did that of strings, phone numbers. I did that of strings. I didn't make it now if I remove the quotes like this now, sorry, if I remove the quotes, it takes it as what? An integer. Okay, that is a length of numbers. This is an integer. So when I run it, it becomes an integer, not a string. But with the quotes, it becomes a string. I hope you guys can still hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So if I print this out, becomes what comes out as this. So initially it was quoted as string, so I just did some extra practices here. Sorry. Just do some extra practices here to know what we have. So when you see a line under, zigzag line under whatever you are doing, just know that there's a potential failure. Until you complete it, until the line disappears, then you know, okay, you might not get an error. You can run it. Okay. So let me do this back. Now, we can also assign a variable to a variable. Okay. We can also assign a variable to a variable. Now, I will ask you guys a question. I'll ask you guys a question on this before I do the assignment. So let me assign, let me create a variable called numbers. And I'm going to assign the variable called phone numbers. Now, like I said, we have what we call a telling sense, so it's giving me some examples of some things I can choose from based on what it already has. Now, if you're not connected to the runtime, you won't be having this function. So you might have connected and you might have run some steps. So let me click on this. Now, guys, I want to ask a question on this. Based on what I've explained so far, if I run this line of code now, and I print out numbers, let me print it out. Let me print numbers. Let me print numbers. Okay, if I do this now, guys, what will be my answer? What will come out? What will the print statement give me for numbers? What will be the answer? All right, I have Ismail. So Ismail, go ahead.
The phone number, sir. The phone number, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, like that.
Okay, that's what
You
we
said
come out.
number is equal to phone number, yes.
Okay, so it's going to give me the 1, 2, 3, 4 like that.
Like that, yes.
Why won't he give me the phone number I wrote? Just the letter phone number.
Because you've said number is equals to phone number. And you said equals to his assignment, something like that.
Okay. You are trying to get it, but you are missing something. All right, Dorcas, what's your contribution to the question?
Okay, I feel it's going to give phone number the way it is like that.
Okay, the way I wrote it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Emmanuel.
Yeah, it's going to give the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the rest like that.
Why will it give you the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Because you've assigned that exact value for the variable phone numbers, and you now assign that phone number to numbers. So if you print numbers, it's going to read what is inside the phone number.
Okay, yeah, you're almost there, but there's something I'm looking for. All right, Oladipupo, what's your answer?
All right, so I believe it will print out phone numbers. So the reason I will say, since we have declared phone numbers to be numbers, so it will bring the same interchangeability, bring the same figures.
Okay. Kingsley.
Sir, it will print out the same numbers,
but
it will
it's
still come
in
out
quotes.
in integer.
It's in quotes.
Okay. Somebody's putting his in quotes. Okay, yeah, still adding to it. All right, Victor. Okay, Victor is not speaking. I obey. What's your answer?
Okay, sir. It will print out like everything under phone numbers, like the quotes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and other things.
Okay. Mohammed.
Okay, it will print out the value of the variable we have declared under phone numbers. The data type we declare under phone numbers. That's what it will print out, because you are now assigning it to another variable.
All right. So if I print it out now, what will now be the data type for numbers, guys? You can give me correct answer, no problem. What will be the data type for numbers? Start printing that.
The string.
It will be
String,
string.
String.
All right. Thank you. Now, like I said, you can assign variables to variables. Okay, but don't forget that what is this variable is just a container. What is this one is a container. So what you're actually assigning from here, it is what? This. Not the letter itself, but the value inside. Is the value inside I'm also assigning to what? Numbers. Are we together, guys? See, it has even given me an expo. So when you assign a variable to another variable, it is the value that variable as after the assignment operator contains that will be assigned to the variable before the assignment operator, not the name of the variable. Okay, so when I print it out, I'm going to have what? The same values 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 as the first one, and the same data type because the first one is what? A string. Now, if I change the values of this one, when I run it again, we also change to this. Okay, guys? So when you're working with things like this, we need to understand the flow, how it works, and we get familiarized with that. So thank you guys for your input. You guys are awesome. I love the vibe I'm getting. Okay. So well, like this is the program to get the, like I said, explained, this is the way to get a type. When I say type of phone numbers, gives me the data type of the phone numbers. This is the way to get it. So if I come here and still put type of numbers, it also gets me the same data type. So this is how to get the data type of any variable you come across with. So if, for example, you're given the data to analyze, before you start analyzing it, please check the variable. Okay, do this type and call the variable you want to use to work. Check the variable first before you start performing some actions, because there are some actions you cannot perform on some. Okay, because of the kind of values it has, kind of the data type it has. So you have to know what it contains, whether it's a string, a boolean, an integer, or a float before you start performing your analysis on them. Okay, so let's ride on, guys, with the next thing. Now, sorry, my screen is coming bigger. Now, okay, I already explained this. Wrong format to declare boolean. So it must be capital letter T, capital letter F, not small letter T. That's why I said watch out for color codes. Okay. So let's keep this. We've done this before. Print type, print first line, print first line. This is printing codes. Now, in strings, before I forget, in strings, when you are declaring strings, there can be space in between strings. Okay, you can put a space in between this one. It is a string, like I said. You can even put a space in the string. It will come out as what? Space. It will come out as a string. All right, guys. So string accommodates anything, because when the program says it, because it's in quotes, it takes as what? A string. But when it's not in quotes, that's when you now have a big problem. But let's proceed. Now, yeah, I just declared some figures. I declared the name Gina. I declared phone numbers. I declared process equals to 30. I declared in process equals to 4. So here now our name Gina is a string. Our phone number is a string. Our process is an integer. Our in process is a Boolean value. Then maybe I can add what we call a salary. Let me put a salary. A salary can be, okay, I already declared the salary before. So let me put it as what will I use now as prepare some salary, income. Yeah, income. I don't want to change, like I was explaining that variables are mutable. If I put salary here and assign a different variable, it's going to replace the salary I declared in the beginning of this class. So that's why I have to change it, because I don't want to change the values that I had there. So let me say income is equals to 50.30 or 35. So name Gina. So let me run this, and then let me declare, open another cell and call their data type. So let me call, I can say type, open a bracket, I'll call name. Then I'll come and let me do type again. Type, I'll call phone number. So phone number, income process, when I run this, I'm going to have their various data types. Oh, sorry. Sorry guys, I'm only having one because of what I did. Sorry, let me just replace it. Let me remove it. So when I do for name will give me the data type. So when I do for phone number, it's going to give me the data type as well. So the reason why you guys are seeing float is because it's after running everything, it only gave me the output of one because it's going to be replacing everything there because of the arrangement. So let's just leave it, guys. Now, the next thing we need to know about when working, when coding, performing some programming, arithmetic operations, some analysis, is what we call comments. Okay, it's what we call comments. Now, comments are statements that explains what a block of code or an expression is performing, which are neglected by the compiler, not compiler. Sorry, let me edit this compiler. Now, this compiler, not compiler. Good. Now, comment, simply take this. Comment X describe the flow of your program or explains what your program is going to do. Now, we use comments as a means of guidance. Okay. Before you do any analysis, it's good to put a comment whereby you remember that, oh, I'm trying to do this with a comment. Or maybe after doing your code, you want to send it to your team member in the group. Yeah, that, oh, please, Mohammed, help me to check my analysis to see if I'm doing the right thing. Now, how would Mohammed know what you are trying to do? If he sees some comments, when you comment each section of your code or whatever you're doing, he will be able to understand and flow well with your programming without calling you to guide him or being confused. Comment helps to do that. It explains what your code is trying to do. Okay? Which is much more better than you just sending him some long text of code you will never be able to understand because it does not know what you're trying to perform. It can start calling you that, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? Please explain. Then you start explaining, wasting time. But with comments, it makes it simpler, easier, and faster. Now, comments are not executed by the program, by the compiler of the program. Okay, compiler is what executes a program, a block of code. All right, so Python has a compiler which runs. When you click on run, compiler compiles whatever you are doing and gives you the output. Is what makes it look interactable. So comments are not executed. Okay. Now looking at my screen, guys, a comment here. You can comment in two ways. You can comment either with a single line comment or a multi-line comment. Single line comment or multi-line comment. Now, a single line comment, a comment is usually done in Python with an hash at the beginning. That's how you perform comment, an hash at the beginning. So a comment is actually done with an hash, and it's for a single particular line. When you go to the next line, you repeat it again. That's why it is repeated twice. And when you do a comment, everything on that comment box takes as what? It takes a shape, a color code of green. On my screen is green. I don't know what's showing on your screen, but it takes as what? Green. Now, when I run this, the program will not give me error, it will not give me anything. Now, I use comment a lot, mostly when I'm having challenges with a code I'm writing. I'm not getting the right response. So because I don't want the program to do it, I'll just comment that full block of code. So I can continue where I want to go to, or maybe I can try something else or continue with my flow of my program. That's what I use comments a lot for. Okay. Now, this is a single line comment. When the program runs, as you can see, it has run. Okay, the program ran, but there's no error. Now imagine I remove the comments. Let me remove the comments. Now imagine I remove the comments. Now I've removed the comments. Let me run. I hope you guys are seeing my screen. I'm seeing multiple lines under it, which means there's potential errors. Now, if I run this without comments, like some of us will do, sir, I'm having a problem. The program is not working. I don't know what happened. I don't understand the error. Look at what kind of program you're writing. So I know some places will do this too, mostly in the assignment. Now, I'm trying to write a comment, or maybe I'm writing a text. For some of you that want to write documentation now, as I'm talking, you're documenting you're typing in a code block, you will have this error. You're going to have this error a lot because you did not comment it. That's why I prefer using a text block to write text, a code block for codes. Now, when you're writing a text inside a code block, use comments, either a single line comment or a multiple line comment. Now, this is an error because the program does not know what you're trying to do here. It sees A, but it does not know what S is. It's reading them one by one. That's why it has error in line 1. You scroll down, I'll tell you invalid syntax. So because I want this to be a comment, I'll comment it. I won't get the error back. Now, how do you comment? You click the hash. Click the hash, then you type whatever you want to type. Maybe you've typed it before. Just go to the line of where the code is. Put your cursor on there. Just on the cursor, then control ? It removes the hash or it puts the hash. If there's no hash, it puts it. If there was an hash, it removes it. Control and the ? The button that has your backward slash, that has ? Control and ? Gives you a single line comment hash when you've already written something. Now the next thing is a multiple line comment. Now, a single line comment is done by using hash, whereas a multiple line comment is done by using quotes. Look at the format below. It looks like a string, but it's not a string, it's a comment. Look at it. 3 is in 3, is in threes. Okay, it's in threes, not 2, not 1. In 1, it's a string. In 2, it is something else it does not know. You have an error with that. But in 3s, 3 at the top, then you write whatever you want to write down. Then at the end of it, at the bottom, you put to 3 to close it. When you open, you close. It means this is a comment. This is a what? Multiple line comment in Python. You can use single quotes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 at the top and at the bottom. And also, when I run this, watch, it's going to run without issue. Okay? It's going to run without what? Issue. Secondly, you can run with what? Double quotes, but in what? It must be in steps of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you run this, there will be no issue. It's going to run for you. Are we together? It's going to run very well for you. Okay? That's why you have is good. Ignore the documentation below. It just prints it out. This is how to comment any multiple line, a multiple line documentation. Okay? It shows you because of the quotes you are putting. That's why it's bringing it out for you, and there's no error on it. Okay? Now, imagine I remove this quote here, and I remove this quote here. Hope you guys are seeing it is not taking it as anything now. If I run this, it's going to be an error. If I use a single quote here, it is still going to give me an what? Error. So you must use 3 steps of quotes. That makes it a comment. Okay, guys? That makes it a comment. You open and you close. It makes it a comment. So this is a multiple line comment. While using the hash alone is a what? Single line comment. Yeah, so that's how we comment and document within a code. Okay. All right. So now this is on a practical example where I commented hello class. This is Gina name. Name is equals to Gina print name. Now when you run this code, it's not going to print hello class. It's not going to print this is Gina. It's only going to print what? Gina, which is the name assigned. All right. So this is Gina. So this is Gina. The print function prints the values in the variable. That's why we have this. I hope we are clear, guys. Now, I'm going to give room for questions. We just have like 5 minutes questions based on what we've learned before I digress. 5 minutes questions based on what I've learned. So if you have a question, raise your hands. I'm seeing Ayobe. What's your question? You can unmute yourself.
I have two questions.
All right, begin.
The first one, in this comment, I noticed we had space.
Okay.
Because initially you told us that there's no space in the program or something like that.
Okay. Second
And
question.
The second one is, I don't, when did you put the text? How did you do this comment? Can you recap?
When did I put the text?
Yes, I don't know how you round these whole comments. Can you just recap?
Okay, let me just do the comments for 1 minute. Now, this is it. Let me go back to this. Now, you said firstly, notice the space. Yes, it's a comment, so a space does not matter because I'm writing a comment. The program does not execute anything here. Okay, even the space is a comment. That's why there's a space allowed in quotes. When you are doing strings, you can put space inside a string. The program will print it out like that. It will not take it as an error. It will take everything, both the space, it will take it as a what? String. Also for comments, you can put space. All right, you can put space, so it does not matter. Even the second one, I can still put space. That's why I say watch out for color codes and lines when your documentation is underlined. If I remove this now, if I remove this, let me remove the hash. You can see it's saying potential error because normally I can't put a space here. Because if this is a variable declaration now, I can't put a space. Now, if I put another score here now, if I put another score here now, the program says, okay, these two are 1. I put another score here as well. It says these two are 1. If I put another score again, it's going to tell me, oh, this, sorry, let me close the space. Let me go back. It's going to think it as 1. Then put another score here, it's going to take it as 1. I'm just doing this because of you. So let me close this and do this. It's going to take it as what? 1. Now it's expecting me to assign a variable because what is seen here now is single line documentation. Because I combined them with underscore, it's taking it as what? A variable. So I want me to assign a value 10. But I don't want to assign anything before. All right. So if I run this, I'm going to have an error not defined. Name error not defined. So even if I want to comment this now, I said control question mark automatically because I've written something on it. So control question mark is going to what? Run it, make it a comment. You can see it's not a comment. And a comment can have space. That's why the second one you are seeing now has this. This one now, I've commented it does not have space. Everything is underscore. But this other one has space. If you run it, you're not going to get an error. So it allows space. All right. Now you say you don't know how around this. It's the same way I just answered your question. So when you're done with it, just click on the play, it runs. Now when you are in a cell block, if you want to run automatically without coming to click on play, just hold Control and press your enter key. It runs it automatically without coming here to click on play. Okay, Control enter, look at it, it gives you a shortcut. Control plus enter runs the cell. All right. So I hope I've answered that question. And let me see if I have any other question. Ru Keme, your question, please. Ru Keme, your question, please. If you're not answering questions, please lower your hand. All right, he does not have a question, so I'm dropping his hand. All right, let's proceed, guys. Since no other question, let's proceed. Now, the next thing we are going to learn today is how to use the print statement. The print statement. I know you guys have been seeing the print. I've already explained that the print allows you to print values within variables or print anything inside the parentheses. That's how you use the print. Now, the next thing to know is that the print letter P is a small letter. That's why I said Python is case sensitive. If I change this print now, to capital letter. It's no longer what the color code has changed. All right, from brownish is now black, and there's a line underneath. There's a line underneath, okay, which means it has changed. So this print and this print are not the same thing. That is why you are seeing the error. So in order for you to use the print, it must be in small letters. So functions are called in small letters. All right, functions and modules are called in small letters. Now a print can print strings, you can print variables, and all. All right, so the print statement you can print inside the print. Watch, oh, this is a string. I can print a string, but it must be inside the parentheses, because every function you are calling, every functions comes with the parentheses. You guys will learn about functions and methods in class, but just take it that when you're using the print statement, everything you are printing must be inside the parentheses. Must be inside the parentheses. Now, this is the print to print my bag is made in Japan. When you run it, it's going to print my bag is made in what? Does not print the code outside. Okay, but it prints everything, including the space. It prints it out because it takes it as a string. So it's going to print it the way you see it. If I remove this J now, I spell Japan, I put Y, it's going to print it out. My bag is made in Japan, like in Nigeria, where we have Aba made and other maids. They might change your name to something else just to sell it. So Japan, I can see, I can change it. It prints it the way I change it. So strings can take up anything. Doesn't matter. Space, special character, it can take it. Okay. So this is the same thing. And now watch this. Hello guys. Who can see the difference between this and this? These two print statements. There's a difference between them, but I want to see if you guys can notice the difference. Let me minimize my screen a bit because it's kind of big at my end. Let me minimize my screen a bit. All right, better. So this print and this print, there's a difference between, they are the same thing, oh, but there's a difference between them. Who can tell me the difference? Who can tell me the difference? Okay, Mohammed, what's the difference? What's the difference, Mohammed? What's the difference, Mohammed?
Yeah, from the print statement, you can see that one, the bag is in single quotes.
Okay. All right. Who else? Who else? Emmanuel, what's the difference?
Yeah, the first print statement has a double quote.
Okay.
And the second one has a single quote. So since the first print statement has a double quote, so you want to lay emphasis on the bag, there's no need using a double quote. It will affect the code you are trying to run. So that's why I use a single quote to show the bag. And the second one, I use a single quote. Instead of using single quote to emphasize the bag, you use double quote.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess that's the same contribution from others. So sorry guys, let me explain and let me explain. All right. So please mute your mics back. Thank you. Now, yes, your observations are right. Okay. Oh, sorry, I've added a new text. Your observations are right. All right. They are the same text, the same thing, the same meaning. My bag is made in Japan, but there's a difference. Now, the first print, you see, it started with a double quote, all right, and end with a double quote. Now, when you are trying to use two quotes, two kinds of quotes in a print statement, please and please, it has another of precedence. When you use a double quote to indicate the string, whatever you are laying emphasis on should have a single quote, not a double quote, because when you use a double quote, it closes this one. Now, if I change it to double quote now, let me change it to double quote. Let's see. It has closed my, it closes my, then bag is now on its own. As you guys can see, bag is now changing color because I've already closed this. Whatever you open in programming, you must close. When you open a bracket, you must close. When you open a quote, you must close. Anything that needs opening and closing, you must close them. So when you use a double quote here, when your program starts with a double quote and you're using a double quote in the middle, that's the second, that middle double quote closes the first one. Then the last one at the end now is now rendered useless. That's why we are having this now. As you can see, it has changed. So the only thing is to now make this another quote. That's why you see the two difference. For the first one, it started with the double quote. So emphasis on the bag was laid on a single quote. For the second one, it started with a single quote. Emphasis on the bag was made with a double quote. Because when you use a single quote, it's going to close the first one, thereby rendering your program prone to error. Okay, guys. Now, if I'm putting a variable here, it can still, it doesn't, you have to just specify the arrangement on it. All right. Now, with that learned, I didn't want to do this, but I didn't want to do this print. But let me just explain this. Now, here now, there's a name. Let me explain this, guys. I didn't want to touch this, but since it's here, I'll just have to explain it. There's what we call concatenation. Like somebody said, you can concatenate two variables together. Yes. All right, you can concatenate. Same way you can assign a variable to another variable, you can concatenate variables together. Now, don't forget that whatever you are concatenating is not the variable name, but rather the values inside the variable name. That's why we have this. And how do you concatenate? You use the plus sign. Now, when you are concatenating, it uses the plus sign. Concatenating works on strings, guys. It works on strings. It does not work on integers. When the program sees you are using the sum on integers, it means you are trying to add it. But once I'm using it on string, it means you are trying to concatenate, you are trying to join them. Now, for this, now, like I told you guys, this program you are seeing now, first name is Peter, which is string. Last name is James, which is also string. Now, full name is a combination of, it's telling the program, take Peter, add James to it. But in the middle, add a space. That's why you're seeing there's a space in between these two quotes. The space also will be taken as a string, like I explained. So when you run this now, when you print the full name, instead of Peter James combined, because of the space in string, which is this means carry the first name, Peter, add space to it, then after the space, add James. So when you print this, it's going to come out like this. Peter space James. Okay. Now, if I remove this, and I run it, it's going to run, no, but look at the answer. Peter James, no space. Okay. That's why we put the space. So we're going to put a plus, and we're going to put a space in quote. Please, if you press space like this without quote, you will have a problem. See, you're having an error because you put space without quote. Okay. So don't just go and press space. Oh, I'm adding this. This does not look at space, because space, when you don't quote it, the program does not recognize it as anything. Does not even use it. It takes it, maybe you're just trying to do something else like that. It doesn't even matter. So you just have to quote it. Whether you're using a single quote or you're using a double quote, it works the same way. It works the same way, guys. Whether you're using a single quote or a double quote, it works the same way. So when I print this, I'm going to have what? Peter James. That's how you concatenate strings together using the print, using the addition. Sorry. So these are the concatenate variables, two variables together. Then you print them, it gives you this. Now, this is supposed to be at the beginning of variables. So let's go down. Now, in using your print statement, like our print when we did just now, we explained how to use the quote, the order of arrangement when using single quote and double quote together. Now, the next thing to know is that you can put a variable inside, you can put a variable inside the print statement. Okay, you can put it inside the print statement where you have strings or when you don't have strings. Now, all the one we have been printing before, we're just plain variable and plain strings. Now, here you are seeing, sorry, let me scroll down a bit. Okay, so here you are seeing I've not got in there. All right. I'm trying to get my space. All right, so here now you are seeing the variable attached to strings inside the print. Now, this is a string, okay? This is a variable. This is a string, and the other is a variable. Now, don't forget, let me take this up. Let me minimize my screen a bit. It's still bigger. It's too big. Okay, I think it's better like this so that I won't obstruct what I'm trying to do. Don't want to obstruct what I'm trying to do. So here you are seeing a string. Here you are seeing a variable. Here you are seeing a string. Here you are seeing a variable. But they are separated by what? Commas. Okay? They are separated by commas. Now, when you run this program, the program prints this the way it is. Because of the comma, it's going to stop at is. Then looking at the next thing, the variable name first name is going to go, it's going to get the value. Then there's a comma also separating this and this. It prints the strings like that and then gets the value for the last name. When you run this, that's the option. That's the way to use a variable inside a string. So you want to print your name, you want to print your first name, your last name, and others. This is how to do it. Okay, guys, this is how you do it. Now, why is the comma important? Watch. Let me remove the comma. I remove the comma. Watch. Oh, let me run it. Now, already I'm seeing a line here telling me I have potential. I'm having potential error. Telling me bracket was not closed. I'm having a potential error. Hope you guys are seeing it. This quote has closed this quote. This first name is here. There's no comma. So it's telling me I'm having a potential error. So if I remove them, if I run it, I will have the error because it's already showing me here. Okay. Perhaps it's even giving me, look at it. Syntax error. Invalid syntax. Perhaps you forgot a comma. It's even giving me an example. Maybe I forgot a comma. Okay, let me go and put comma and see if it will work. Let me put comma here first. So I put a comma here. That's a full stop. Sorry. I'll put a comma. Sorry, guys. Comma and run it. Let me run it again. Let's see. Same error. It's telling me, now it's taking me to another position. Invalid syntax again. Okay, let me put the comma here too. So this is a way we solve errors, guys. This is a way we solve errors. All right, so I've put another comma and I will run it again. And my error has been solved. Okay, see, Peter is the first name, James is the last name. That's why it was declared there. Okay, this is how you call them. Now, let's say we want to call, listen, guys. We want to call the first and last name, but we don't want to use comma to separate them. We just want to put them at the end. At the end. At the end. We don't want to put them somewhere, but we don't want to use comma to separate them. How do you do this? You call the print, you write everything you want to write. Now, is there is a curly brace inside this place, a curly. Inside the format method, they specified two variables, first name and last name. Now, what with dot format do? When the prints out is printing out this line of code, because of this dot format that is here, it's going to take the first variable, you see, and put the value inside here when it's printing out. Then it's going to take the variable after the comma and put it at the last curly brace. I hope you are getting it. When the program is printing, the compiler is running this, it's going to print this, the string the way it is. But when it gets to this curly brace, even if I know you guys will say, oh, it's in a string, oh, it's supposed to print it like that. But because of the dot format, it's going to come to this curly brace, pick this first variable, take the value and put it here and print it out. Then do the same thing for the last variable, take it and put it at the last curly brace. Now let's run it on so that you guys will understand what I'm talking about. I hope you guys are seeing what I'm talking about. It took the first name, put it where it said this curly brace, took the last name and put it here because of the word dot format. Now let's remove dot format. Let's remove the format. We're going to have some bigger problem which we might not be able to solve. Now you see, there's a big problem we cannot even solve. Syntax warning, maybe I have to miss the comma. Yes, now some places we start trying to put comma, and at the end of the day, you say, sir, I cannot decode this code. You'll not be sending me screenshots on my DM, or you'll not be disturbing the WhatsApp group. So you must follow the principle. Because the format is not here, you cannot even use this. So in order to use this style of printing, you must use the dot format method to call and pick the right answer. That's why it's running fine. Now, the last way you can use the print statement and your variable together with strings is by using what we call the F function. It's F string function. We call it the F string function. It's used to format string. You see the way this format is appearing here. This format is here. Remove the ORMAT, put the F at the beginning of your quote. It's the same work it does. Now, what it does here is this. When you are printing this, inside this curly brace we had, now in this one, the format picks this and replaces it here. But in this one, we put the variable name inside the curly brace and put it on the last two. Then we use the F string, which is called the format string. It's the same function with this format. We use the F string and put the variables in curly brace at the position where we want them to be. So when we run this, because of the F string that is here, why the program, it does the same thing as this. Why the program is coming like this, it picks the variable and puts it there. When it comes to the last place, it puts the variable and puts it there. Now, look at it and look at the color code. Understand it very, very well. And in fact, screenshot this page and save it somewhere. Now let's run it. You see, it is the same output as everything, but different ways and methods of using these codes. That's why every programmer is unique. Every analyst is unique to his or her own work. Now, the next thing we need to know is what we call the input format. Now, so long as we have the print to do the output, the print gives us the output. But there's also what we call the input, what we use to get input. Okay, now, input format. The input allows you to interact with your program through your keyboard. Rather than you assigning variables directly in the code, you can assign it while you are executing the code through your keyboard. That's what the input does. Now, the first input we did here, we assigned the name directly here, Peter and James. Now, the second one we are doing here, we are not assigning directly, but we are interacting with our program. We are interacting with our Python code while it is in execution. That's why we have the input. This is a function, just as the print. So the input is used when you're assigning a variable and you want response from your keyboard. So that's why you're saying input. Then when you put an input, you open a bracket. What you need to do is use a string to tell the person, input this for me. Now, the input function as the print. It functions as the print, but it takes input. It does not give output. The print prints a string. The input also prints a string when the string is specified. But rather than printing out the result, it collects information. It does not give, but it takes. The string is strictly used to describe or explain what it needs. Okay? The print, when you put a string in print, you are explaining what you are giving. But when you're using the input and a string, you are trying to explain what you want, what you need to get. That's why you see what is your first name. That's why you're saying it there. What is your first name? So whoever sees this code when I run it, let me run it now. Whoever sees my code after running it, it asks me what is your first name. Then a text box appears for me to type from my keyboard. Now, if I don't type, the program will not stop running. It will be there until you see something from me. Now, whatever I type inside this place, it takes the value of the first name. Whether I'm typing a string, or I'm typing an integer or whatever, it takes it there. Are we together? Automatically, the program takes it, whatever it sees me put inside the text box now, it uses that to convert to a data type to first name. Are we together, guys? So let me put the first name. Let me put my name. Let me just type John. Let me say John. Then after typing, how do you proceed? You press the enter button. Then it goes to the next line. What is your last name? My last name is John Swiss. Let me use John Swiss. That's my last name. Then I'll click on enter. Now, you see, gives me my answer. S string, your first name is John and your last name is Swiss. I can decide to add, I'll say your full name is John Swiss. Are we together, guys? Your full name is John Swiss. So I can do that here as well, but let's just proceed with this. Now, this is the input format to get information. Now, why we wrote your first name, now whoever is typing this now, we know that, okay, I need to write in letters. When I write in letters, if I do type here, type first name, the data type will come out as a string. Okay, so I won't do that. Let's just proceed with the class. So the next input I did was age, like we did now. The first age we declared, we assigned 30 to it. Now here we want to get input from user. We want to get any age. So when I run it, it asks me, how old are you? Now, if I put a text and I press enter, it's going to tell me I am MFF years old. I am MFF years old. It's going to tell me like that. Now, automatically it takes that MFF is what? A string. I'm supposed to put an integer, no, but I decided to write a letter. It takes it. I will explain how to correct it. Okay? I'll explain how to correct it. Now, I put MFF and it takes it like that. But you looking at what it's telling you, are supposed to put what? Input a number, 65. Click on enter. So it's going to think I'm 65 years old. Now, how do you stop and restrict the input of wrong data when using the input statement. How do you stop it? That's what brings us to using the data types. You see the data specify them with the abbreviation. Integer is int. You now specify the float is you specify float FOLOAT, that's float. Boolean BOOL, then string str. That's how you specify it. And how do you specify it? You call it and put your input inside a bracket. All right. So this int now is a function which restricts. Look at the next line of code. It says num1 is equal to int input first number, int input second number. So whatever I'm putting here now, if I put letters, you don't take it. Now let me do that for the age so that you guys will understand. Now I'll come to the age. I will say int. I'll open my bracket. I'll close my bracket. So please don't forget, when you open a bracket, you must close it. When you open, you must close. And when I run this, what will happen, guys? Now let me put MMT again. MTT, sorry. Let me put MTT and run it. Sorry, let me. Oh, I went to press the wrong thing. Sorry, guys, I'm coming. I want to go and interrupt my runtime. Please on the light. I have to go and interrupt my runtime. Sorry, guys. Let me do it again. Now, when I run this, I want to put that okay, I use MFF. I use MFF. So let me use MFF and press on enter. Now I'm having an error. I'm having an error. Sorry, guys. I need to scroll. Now I'm having an error. Value error. Why? Because I specified int and I'm putting MFF. So I've restricted the input of me using strings where I'm expecting an integer. So that .int simply tells the program that whatever value I'm collecting must be integer. It must be nothing less than integer. Less than integer, display an error message. That's what this integer specifies. We have the .str, which makes a string. So here that I have a first name, sorry, I need to. Okay, so let me do this again so that I need to clear that screen. So I did the MFF and I got an error. So let me put Boolean. Let me put Boolean true. I'm still going to get an error because what it requires is an int because of the int I've specified. So I have to run it again and then put a number before it can be accepted. So let me put a number 30 like we did before. Oh no, let me use the number 30 like we did before. So you are 30 years old. Guys, it's going to accept whatever you specify as long as you use a restriction that requires that value. Now, for the first one when we did an input, let me limit it to because here now, if I run this, if I put numbers, let me put numbers in this box. It's going to accept it. Let me put another number. It's going to accept the numbers, telling me, oh, your first name is 654 and your last name is 45. So in order for you to restrict this, for it not accepting anything but what you want, you need to use data type function str, and I'm going to close. I'm going to open my bracket and I'm going to close it. All right, so I'll do the same thing here, str for string because it's string I want. I'm going to open, then I'm closing it. So when I run this, the value I need must be a string. If I put numbers now, I run it. Next thing is an error. Oh, why am I terminating from this place now? Sorry. For a number, I'm getting an error straight. Did you see an error? Some people will be confused now. Did you see any error?
No, there's no error.
You guys should respond now.
No error.
There's
There's
no
no
error,
error.
sir. There's no error.
No error, no error.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, no error.
Oh, sorry, my mic is muted. Ouch.
No error. We can hear you.
No error. No error.
Fine, no error. Now, you're not seeing an error. Why? Because I said convert everything to string. So even the number I saw, it converted it to string. I was expecting somebody to say, sir, you don't have an error. Why don't you have an error? Please explain. Don't forget that string can take any values, whether Boolean or whatever, but the program converts it to string in quotes. So the input now, when I specify str, simply means whatever I'm taking, convert it to string for me, whether it is Boolean, whether it is any other thing, make it string for me. That's what it's simply telling me, guys. That's why you are still seeing the numbers, because I said anything I put here, convert it to string because of this. Now, when I check for the data, now watch, let me add something so that you guys will understand this clearly, because you must understand this very, very well. I want to add let me add a code. Let me add a code block. Sorry guys, my PC has been working. So let me put a type. You guys understand this? I am doing this right now so that you guys understand. Let me say type first name.
Please, let's exercise patience while we hope that these issues will be resolved. We can't hear the instructor. We can't see any screen shared. Thank you.
Man, from my end is a good night too, because my system is 0.5% already. So I'll probably continue with the video, hopefully, and the assignment on the group. The system is down.
All right. Hello everyone. Good evening. Please, can we hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good
Yes, we
evening,
can hear
everyone.
you.
Yeah, I want to believe we are enjoying the class, right? So the instructor is working, trying to put things together. So we'll get on the screen now in few minutes to this time. So that's, what we've been taught today is a very important part of Python, talking about data types and how to use input statements and how to. Okay, the instructor is on, so I will hold on for now for him to continue.
I deeply apologize for the break in transmission, guys. Network threw me off the class. I had to check back and I saw I was disconnected. So, what was the last thing you guys saw me do? What did you see me do, guys? What was the last thing you saw me do?
We're trying to bring out type.
Yeah. Now the type showed me str, and I was trying to ask you guys. If you are confused when I did type for first name, and I'm still getting str. Why am I getting str? I was asking if you guys are confused about that, and if you are confused, let me know. I'm going to explain why.
Yes, please explain.
Okay. Now I'm going to explain why I'm still getting str as the data type. Okay. Now, watch this. In your print statement, I spoke about this. Okay. And I spoke about input. All right. Now, you're using Colab, which is connected using AI resources and the likes. So definitely, it's going to recognize and do automatically perform some functions for you. Okay. It's going to perform the functions for you. Now, I did first name is equals to input was a first name, this and that, this and that, this and that. And I took 67, and I put the type, first name and all. Now, looking at this, I explained something, John, and I said, don't forget that when you are connected to a runtime, your program has what we call IntelliSense. Once it sees a variable, it knows what it's supposed to have. Okay. Now, because of this print f string you are seeing here now, it's automatically telling the program that everything I'm saying here with IntelliSense involved, it is supposed to be what? All strings. So string can contain, that's why I said strings can contain any value you specify. It does not limit. Whether you put boolean, it convert it. That's why even when I still put 67 without the str function, it converted it. All right. That's why string is easy to manipulate. Okay. But when you're now working with integers, there's a reason I came back here so that I said strings is very easy to manipulate too, and it is very confusing for those who don't understand how to use it. Okay, it is very confusing, but you will get the flow the more you practice. When I started first, I didn't know all this. It was with time, with practice, I got to know the difference and applications and the uniqueness of strings. That's why anything we do, we are trying to just play around. We work with strings rather than using exact values. And when we get whatever we need, we now go back to the normal way of programming. So strings takes anything. The F string and the program converts everything it sees to string, whether you specify the string function or not. But when you are now playing with integers, numbers, you must use the int to limit it, because this is age. The program, it can take anything. The intelligence does not work on this. Okay, it does not work on this. So once it sees input, anything you put is going to format it as string. If you put boolean, it will format it as boolean. If you put it, it will format it. Okay, but you must use int to limit, because the reason we use this is to limit what the values we are putting, so that when you are putting something different, it will not take it. When you use this in this function like str on the first one, first name, it converts everything to string. It does not limit anything. But int here limit. Same as float. When you use float, float limits too. Boolean limits as well. So whatever you're putting must be that true or false, not numbers, not alphabet, not strings. So that is true or false. That's what Boolean do when you limit it. Int limit it must be whole number, not float numbers. Float limit it must be number with decimal point, not whole numbers, not strings, not Boolean. So that's the different operations of this. Okay, I hope you guys are clear now. For string, you can manipulate anything. The program itself does the conversion if you don't want to manipulate. But once it sees the format and the flow you are using, it does the conversion. It saves you the stress of getting errors when you know you're working with strings. But when you're working with ints and other data type, you need to be careful. That's why we have this next. This one was a little bit of arithmetic we did. So we did first number, second number, and we multiplied them together. So I'm going to say first number is this, first is 3, second number is 3, then multiplying them is this, arithmetic operators. Multiplying them is this, num1 times num2. Now, like I explained, you are assigning variables to another variable. Num1, what does num1 contain here, guys? Num1 contains 463.
463.
Why num2 contains 7. So whatever what the arithmetic operation is doing now is multiplying 463 times what? 7, not num1 times num2. Because when you're doing arithmetic operation, it works with the values. All right. So if this num1 was having a string, you have an error here. It only works for numbers, num1 and num2. So that's why multiplying 463 multiplied by 7, and we get the answer 3241. So this is just a practical class. So I think this is where I'm going to drop the curtain. It's already 10:02. This is where I'm going to draw the curtain, and we'll understand other flows of programming in the next class. Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question before we terminate the class? Please fill your attendance. Once I end the class, I stop accepting responses. See, it's the Python. All right, so questions. I see some hands raised. Let me pick. Let me pick. Please make your questions as fast as possible. Hands raised. Favor of Ray, your hands are raised. What's your question?
So my question is, for the print statement, there is an F before the.
Yes.
So what's the essence of that F?
All right. Let me just show this. Seems you were not here when I was explaining the F. This is the essence of the F. Did you understand the concept of these three? Did you understand the concept of these three?
I was having network issues around this side, not really.
Okay, fine. I'll just be fast, grab it quick, and I need to stop recording though. Now, the F is a F string, okay? This is how you use the print statement, combining strings and variables. This is how you use it. Now, for the first one, we put the variable inside the print statement, separating them by comma, separating it by comma from the string, so that when the program comes here, it picks the value here and puts it here, which is Peter, and prints the string the way it is. Okay, does the same for last name. Now, here we did the string all written. Then we put curly braces inside the quote. Like I said, string can carry anything, even special characters. But now we are having this here. But because we want to put the answer here, we call the dot format method. Like I said, you'll be taught what methods are and functions. Now we call what we call the dot format what method. Now the dot format method you have here now simply tells the program that when you are printing, when you get to this curly brace, pause, get the value for first name and put it, which is Peter. Do the same thing for the last name when you get to this curly brace. Get the value for last name and put it, which is James. All right, this is a way. Now this is like a long way, not that it's long, but it's like a long way. Now the second one you have here, which is the F you are seeing, it's called the F string method. It is short for dot format. It is the same thing as this and this. Just remove the F ORMAT, take the F and put it at the beginning inside your curly brace. Sorry, inside your parentheses, your F. That's why it's here showing you blue. So when you see this F means format. So when you're seeing this, you now put the values. You see these values were outside the curly brace. Now these values are inside the curly brace. In order for it to work, you must put the F string. If I remove the F string, it will not work. Okay, you are going to have an error. So let me scroll down to where you saw it and let me use it. Now, if I come here now, because this variable now is inside this bracket, if I remove this F string, watch what will happen. What will happen? Can't you see the answer is turning to what? It's turning to what? It's turning to a string. So even if I put numbers, if I put numbers, it's going to print me your result is answer. Some people will have this error in their assignment. It's going to tell me your result is what? Answer. All right? It's going to tell me your result is answer. Okay? So that's why you put the F string to format it. Just put F before the quote. And then it's going to give you your required answer. I believe that has answered your question.
Yes.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. So next person I'm picking Mejovi.
Yes. Sorry, mine is not really a question. Please, can
All
you
right.
hear me?
I can hear you.
It's more like a plea. I want to plead if we can get this recorded version earlier than we got the one from Wednesday, please.
All right. All right. Thank you.
I'm new to this and I need to really watch this video over again and practice.
All right. Thank you very much. The videos, like I said, before we upload them on YouTube, they need to go through it and maybe filter out some things. All right. They might even like these are our questions I'm putting at the end, might even be filtered. It might be left. It depends on maybe when we have distractions, it can be removed. Like when they talk through somebody else, it's going to be removed. So they need to work on it and edit it. So it depends on how long it takes for them to edit. Then they upload and send the link to us. Meanwhile, while you're waiting for this recording of this exact class, there are recordings of classes of previous course you can also watch. It can explain what we did. So you can also get information from there. So rather than you just waiting till you get this, you can pre-watch those ones. Then maybe when you get this, then you get clear knowledge about it again and you continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so Muhammad Yahaya, your question before I end my class.
All right. My question is just a short one. How do I
right.
print out a statement that has a quote? I want my statement, the output, to have a quote, a single quote or a double quote. I want it as an output.
Okay, you want your output, your statement to have a quote. All right, so let me practicalize that with you. So I'm going to like so let me include something here. Okay, let me put the code. So let me do a print. Open my brackets. Now let me print I want a double quote on this. I know I showed this before, so I'm going to do this again. Can you see what I did?
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Thank you very much. So I answered this question when explaining how to use the precedence of our using quote. Now, I started with a single quote, so the quote I'm going to quote my words will be double, so that it will not go and affect my single quote. Because once you open, you must close. Once I use a single quote here, automatically the program is seeing it as I'm closing the first quote. So that's why I use a double. Now, if I'm reversing it, if I'm reversing this now, if I'm using a double quote to start my string, like I want to tell the program, like, see this thing as a string. That means whatever I want to quote must be quoted in what? Single string. Must be quoted in what? Single
Thank you very
string,
much.
not double. Double. So that's what I did. So when you print it, the quote will come out as well. Sorry, let me close. Put this one here. I didn't put it. So the quote is going to come out as well when you do it. So that's how to print. So I guess that's let me delete this. Not be my notebook. Please, for all the practice you guys have did, always learn to save. Learn to save. So when you are connected, it saves automatically, but to avoid issues arising, Control S. So the assignment for today's class will be dropped. So you are going to get it, and the deadline for submission will also be pasted. So you will do it and submit it on time. So I guess that ends today's class, and let me stop the recording. So I guess somebody was